What if I told you that some of the struggles that you're dealing with in your 40s and 50s didn't have to be this hard? That if I had known what I know now back in my 30s, about menopause, about hormones, about blood sugar, stress, how my body really works, I could have saved myself years of frustration, weight battles, sleepless nights, all sorts of things. And so today I'm pulling back the curtain and sharing the truths I wish someone had told me sooner, because this isn't just about menopause. This is about preparing your body, your mind, and life for the decades ahead. So if you know somebody in your 30s, if you are not, make sure you share this episode because it's going to be one to listen to. Well, hey there. So when I was in my 30s, I thought menopause was like something so far off in the distance, something that like only mattered when I was going to be in my 50s. And that was like forever away. But now looking back, as I realized so much of what I struggled with when I was in my 20s, even like, they contribute to how life actually shows up for you in your 50s. And so this message, if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you've gone through menopause, I don't want you to think that this is not for you, because we are going to talk about things that regardless of what age you are, it's going to help. But if you are in your 20s or 30s, this is so powerful to listen to. So if you are a subscriber to my podcast and you are in your 50s and 60s, I want you to listen, but I want you to share this with somebody in their 20s and 30s, because this is going to be like gold, the stuff I wish I had known, and how my body was changing and what I was doing and how it was impacting it. If I had known then what I know now, I could have saved myself a whole lot of frustration, a whole lot of fad dieting, a whole lot of feeling like my body was working against me. And so today I want to share the 6 biggest things I wish I knew when I was in my 20s and 30s about menopause. And again, if you're through menopause, if you're in perimenopause, this is still going to be very, very valuable, because these truths are what every woman needs to hear, and it's never too late. Okay, so these 6 truths, as we dig into them, it's like, I think so many of us have just done what we have kind of been told. And I liken our body to an airplane all the time, right? Like, our body is like this airplane, and for too long, we have been the passenger in our own plane, having no idea how to fly it, no idea how all those buttons work or anything like that. And so we just sort of sit back, and it's almost like we feel like we don't have a right to know. It's just that we're supposed to do what, quote unquote, they tell us. As I feel like I can't unsee the things that I have seen now over the last decade plus of working with women. And it's almost like so clear to me now, but I realize that it is still like clear as mud to so many people. And as confusing as things are, I think today is going to clarify a lot of things, and I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. So, truth number 1 that I wish I knew when I was younger, and that even if you are not younger, you need to know now. Dieting will make menopause worse. And if you are in menopause, it is making it worse. Diet culture sets us up to fail, whether it's cutting calories, skipping meals, cutting carbs. I will say this, I have said this for the last 10 plus years. Tell me one thing that thrives in a deficit. Just tell me one thing. I'll wait. Yeah, my little Jeopardy song. Nothing. Well, nothing thrives in a deficit. Why is it that health professionals, nutritionists, personal trainers, I need you all to stop saying caloric deficit. I need you all to stop saying we got to take in less than we burn. I need you all to stop saying it, because the more you say it, the more women think that if I just eat less and less and less, oh, maybe I'm not at enough of a deficit. It's like this magical number that that we're not allowed to have. Like, think about it. If we're passengers in our own plane, and people tell us, like, you have to hire a nutritionist to tell you, like, you should be having 1,942.7 calories per day. Like, Nobody actually knows. It is like the Wizard of Oz and the man behind the curtain. Yes, if you overeat, I get it. Calories have energy. And it's really like, it's not about calories in, calories out. Because if it was, it's like 350 calories of an Oreo cookie is the same as 350 calories of turkey, almonds, and an apple. No, it just isn't. And so, like, we need to have the right amount of food, but constantly telling women to deprive, to restrict, to put their bodies at a deficit is like telling them to keep running their car on fumes, and you wonder why you aren't able to win the race. This is what happens when we don't know how to fly our own plane. We just sit back and we're like, oh, okay, well, right now we're flying over Toronto, and I'm just going to trust that we're flying over Toronto. I'm going to hope that I'm going to get to where I want to be, but I have no idea how to fly this plane. Now, counting calories is a completely oppressive, outlandish, time-consuming, absolutely sucky experience. Like anybody that's ever counted calories, they know they don't want to do that forever. You would never let a kid count calories. So why is it suddenly, as we're an adult, this is appropriate practice? It's not. But nothing thrives in a deficit. And here's the problem. The more we restrict and the more we cut out macronutrients, macro means big, like carbs. Carb is one of only 3 macronutrients. We are depriving our body. Restriction stresses out our body. It disrupts our hormones. And it leads to blood sugar swings, because when we're deprived, when our blood sugar is really low and our body wants to grab nutrients, where's it going to go? It's going to grab nutrients from our muscles. It's like gold. It's literally grabbing gold from our body. And then when we eat, because like we're hungry, we binge, we're on or we're off, and our blood sugar goes up. Every time our blood sugar spikes, our body has to release insulin to try to mitigate that spike. Insulin's a hormone. Once one hormone is off, all hormones are off. Okay. We have to recognize that dieting and restriction is actually causing our body to be out of balance. We have to ignore and push through hunger. No, hunger is our body's way of talking to us. Chronic dieting will absolutely raise your cortisol. It will lower your metabolic flexibility. It will make menopause harder. If you are in your 20s and 30s, please just stop restricting. And it may feel like when you're in your 20s and 30s, like if I diet and I lose weight, it's working. I need you to actually define working, because losing a little bit of weight, which is actually not fat loss, it is not healthy, it will come back to bite you. You can absolutely get to an optimal weight by eating as you should. Okay. Sorry that I get on a little tangent when it comes to dieting. All right. 2, cardio without strength training actually limits our ability to thrive. Okay. Menopause brings muscle loss. It does as we get older. Okay. It's going to lower our metabolism. Muscle is this gold. Then your metabolism, the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism is. Cardio, while we think it's fat loss, it is just such a myth. Strength training is a non-negotiable for women. And like when I was a Division I athlete, like we did very little strength training. It was like ridiculous. We have to build lean muscle. It protects bone density. It stabilizes blood sugar. It helps with body composition, and just this endless cardio. Now, cardio, if you love it, is fine, but don't do it for the reasons of weight loss or necessarily cardiovascular health. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't bring about that. I'm saying you can get all of that with strength training. If you're only doing cardio, you're speeding up the very thing you're trying to avoid, muscle loss. Okay. All right. The third thing I wish I knew and understood blood sugar and why it was so important that my body will balance its blood sugar in one of 2 ways, through food or on its own. And when it has to keep balancing it on its own because of restriction, because I'm not fueling it correctly, then my body is going to get very, very tired by the time menopause comes around. Stable blood sugar is the foundation of everything. Our energy, our mood, our focus, our metabolism, our weight, our hormonal balance, literally everything. When your blood sugar is stabilized on a regular basis, your body is in something called homeostasis. Homeostasis simply means balance. When your body is in balance, everything's in balance. When your body's not in balance, then multiple things are not in balance. And what we know is a dysregulated blood sugar over time actually adds up to a whole lot of problems, including metabolic disease. Metabolic disease like diabetes, prediabetes, I put them in the same category, by the way. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, PCOS is actually related to blood sugar issues. Even cancer and stroke, dementia, Alzheimer's. But if we're just going into hormonal balance, I'll tell you the story. One of my clients, Tara, had been learning how to balance her blood sugar. She was pre-diabetic. She had horrendous hot flashes and menopausal symptoms. She was 53 years old. And after working with us for a year, working with me and my team for a year, she was like, within weeks, she was feeling better. And she hadn't had a hot flash in a year. And then she went out for breakfast and got a big stack of pancakes. And she did it to serve her soul. It was completely intentional. And it's always like, there's no restriction if you're intentional about it. She was like, I'm having a soul filling meal and I'm gonna love every minute of it. But she did. She spiked her blood sugar. Now, the longer you're balancing your blood sugar intentionally, the better and better your body can be at handling it. But what's so interesting is that night she woke up with the worst hot flashes and night sweats. And she said it was unbelievable because I realized by having such a big spike in my blood sugar, how much it connected to hot flashes. And so when you have stable blood sugar, you will experience fewer menopausal symptoms and you will have a lower risk of all this disease, heart disease, diabetes, all of that, because we actually have such a sensitivity after menopause. We see heart disease and diabetes spike after menopause. So let's start balancing our blood sugar. So how do we do that? When I talk about balancing our blood sugar through food, we talk about the PFC3 formula, protein, fat, and carb together at every meal, as much as you can, about every 3 hours, eating within an hour of waking up, and eating as much as you can, making sure that protein, fat, and carb are clean, whole, unprocessed food. The older you get, the more sensitive you are. But it doesn't mean you don't have, it's sensitive to sugar spikes, but it doesn't mean you don't have carbs. Carbs can be also vegetables and fruits, in addition to like bread and pasta. The vegetables and fruits are full of nutrients. You need those nutrients. You need the energy that comes with it. Protein, fat, and carb every 3 hours. It's literally like absolute gold for your body. And I know it, I know it works. I've trademarked it, but also I have taught this to thousands of not just clients, but other health professionals to be able to teach this to their clients. And just in the data around continuous glucose monitoring that I've done with my clients, we just see it. You can keep your blood sugar stabilized all day long and eat carbs. You can. You don't have to track. You don't have to count calories. You want to always feel ready to eat, satisfied, ready to eat, satisfied. And your protein, you want to have a little bit higher than your carbs. I don't count or track. I just know I'm having more grams of protein than I am carbs, and maybe about half of that in fat. You know, some of your protein is already going to have the fat in it, like salmon and steak and ground beef or ground turkey. So being thoughtful about that is how you can ensure that you're keeping your blood sugar stabilized. And it's so simple. You don't have to restrict it all. All right. The fourth thing that I wish I knew in my 20s and 30s is that stress is a mindset. Some people get mad at me about that. But we are not victims to stress. Everybody handles situations differently and perceives situations differently. And if I had been taught how to handle my stress in a more productive way, this is why, I love that right now people are more open to therapy than they were when I was in my 20s and 30s. It's sort of like a thing, like therapy is important, therapy matters. And so what's so important is that menopause symptoms intensify with unmanaged stress. Cortisol spikes will then also spike your glucose level. When your glucose level is spiked, remember, cortisol is a hormone, insulin's a hormone. Once one hormone is off, all hormones are off. It impacts our sleep. One night of dysregulated sleep actually can impact our body like that of a type 2 diabetic. And therefore our hormone balance gets completely off. Stress doesn't just happen to us though. It's how we interpret life. Our amygdala, this little tiny part in our brain, can get really big and it overwhelms the knowledge center of our brain. So emotionally, we can absolutely get ourselves triggered. Stress is real. It happens to all of us. But how we think about it, how we process it, our mindset, it changes how it impacts the body if you can manage it. If you don't learn how to manage stress, menopause will absolutely manage you, because you're not just going to get older and think, okay, once I'm older, I'm going to learn how to manage stress. No, you need to actually be able to learn how to manage it now. And so I lots of podcasts about stress and things like that. I teach this to my clients. I write about this in my book and in my morning time. Every single day I'm live on Instagram at 6:45 in the morning and talk through managing stress. But the first thing I think we have to do, and I always say that self-awareness is health, is to be aware that stress doesn't just happen to you. It's how we interpret a situation and how our feelings, while they should and be respected as real, do not necessarily equal truth. And we can, even if we can't control our feelings, we can control our thoughts and our actions. I say to my kids all the time, you're responsible for how you act, regardless of how you feel. You are responsible for how you act, regardless of how you feel. And by acting in a certain way that aligns with the identity that you really want. So if you are stressed and then you get angry and frustrated, but you act angry and frustrated, it turns into this horrible cycle. But if you can control your actions, you can control your thoughts, which you can, it's amazing how your stress can actually dissipate. So let's keep moving. All right. The fifth thing that I wish I knew is that it's not if, it's when menopause happens. And I am going to literally scream the next time I hear about diagnosing menopause. As if menopause is a disease that has to be diagnosed. When we get our periods, nobody diagnoses us as if getting your period is a disease, as if it's something that happens to some people and not others. We're all going to get older. It's inevitable. It's not something to fear, but we prepare for it. Too many women treat it like this is this illness, but it's actually just a natural transition. It doesn't mean your body's broken. It means your body's asking you to take care of it differently. And if you're in the middle of it now, all these things that I'm telling you are going to make it better. In fact, that's the majority of women that I work with are already in it. And we can actually make it so much better. But imagine if we can get in front of it, how much better it could be. We need to normalize the conversation. Women need to stop being blindsided by this because we're sitting in the passenger seat. If we are flying our own plane and we know the turbulence is ahead, we prepare for it. That's what I'm asking for us to do. And I'm asking for you to be able to share with the women in your life. So make sure you're subscribing to this podcast. If you're on YouTube with me, just hit that subscribe button. If you're not on YouTube and listening in wherever you get your podcasts, I encourage you to get to the YouTube channel because the video is there and you can kind of interact with comments and things like that. But wherever you're going to do it, go subscribe so that you can continue to learn. All right, now let's get to the sixth one, which I think is honestly one that I've only recently really believed in and understood. HRT, hormone replacement therapy, treatment. There's a lot of different ways people use that T. It's proactive. It's not reactive. Hormone replacement therapy is often misunderstood. And I think this is something that's so important. Thank God for Dr. Sarah Daccarat. Sarah has been just a mentor of mine now. She's younger than me and she is an expert. Your OB is not necessarily an expert in your hormones. And I didn't know that. I did not know that. But a hormone expert like Dr. Sarah Daccarat, innerbalance.com. I cannot speak about her enough. I cannot speak about her practice enough. I cannot speak about her philosophy enough. It's not about waiting until you're miserable and then trying to fix something, because we know all of our hormone levels, our estrogen, progesterone, our testosterone are going to decrease. They're going to start to diminish as we get older. And we can actually be proactive in that, because our hormones are there for a reason. They are about, like, they protect our heart health, our bones, our cognitive function. And if we know they're going to decline, then why not do something proactive about this? So I know my girls, like, once they finish having their babies, they're going to work with Dr. Dakara without a doubt. Research shows like HRT, bioidentical hormones, especially when started earlier, can actually reduce risks of osteoporosis, dementia, metabolic disease. It's a proactive measure that is not talked about because we are sitting in the passenger seat of our airplane and nobody is showing us the flight manual on how to fly it. That's one of the passions that I have to be able to do. We don't need to wait until the wheels are falling off the plane. This is about supporting your body for longevity. So, here it is. Menopause is not something to dread. It's something we prepare for. Like, we're preparing for a wedding. We're preparing for childbirth. We're going to prepare for this. The choices that you make in your 20s and 30s and 40s are shaping how your body's going to experience menopause in your 50s and beyond. I went through menopause at 46. But I had been living this lifestyle, the lifestyle that I'm talking about right now, for almost 10 years by that point. So I didn't have even close to the symptoms that I had, or that many of my clients have had. But holy cow. I mean, I've gone through the ringer when it came to what I did to my body. And I know that a lot of that caused some of my infertility issues and some of the other things, like, that I wish, if I had known about this, how much further I could be. But I always say, wherever you are on your journey, there's a place for you. And it's never too late. But dieting, over cardio, ignoring strength training, pushing through stress, neglecting blood sugar balance. These are the things that are making menopause harder, whether you're in it or will make menopause harder if you are not there yet. But fueling your body, stabilizing your blood sugar with PFC3, protecting your muscle, managing stress, being proactive with tools like HRT, that's how you thrive through the season of life. I wish I had known this in my early 30s. But I'm telling you now, I'm telling you now, if you are in your early 30s, I'm telling you now, if you are in the middle of the menopause or through it, because it all matters and it all will help. So, who are you sharing this with? And what are you taking from this in terms of your own journey in the menopause madness? I actually think it's just so miraculous. It's something that I always say in morning time, like, let's get grounded in gratitude as part of your morning time. It changes the way your brain looks at situations. And we know that. We know the research around having gratitude. And I think about what my body has been through, all that I have put through it, and how it continues to show up for me and tries to be my best friend. How I was able to birth miraculously one amazing little girl, and how throughout the last 50 years of my life, it has kept me upright and has kept me moving and has kept me to be able to serve my purpose. So if you are in the middle of it and you are struggling, let's take a step back and realize what a miracle our body is. And we can absolutely thrive through menopause. So I actually have a menopause guide that I've written that I will include in the show notes here. So you guys can actually go through and look at some of the pieces of the menopause puzzle, a little bit more about what I talked about with nutrition and balancing your blood sugar. And hopefully that will help give you a sense of like some strategy, but continue to follow, continue to subscribe, continue to tag along, because this journey is one of continued self-discovery, learning, and never ends. So let's keep going at it together. Thanks.